we would begin, if we were standing in your physical shoes, by acknowledging that change must come. It cannot be otherwise. And so you cannot help but play a role in that, because you exist, you observe, you shoot off rockets of desire. But it's helpful to talk about how any creation happens, and isn't all creation change? Because all creation is experiencing what is, acknowledging how it could be better, launching the rocket of desire, and then lining up with it. Yes? So what you might say is, there are a couple of steps that we get to play in this change that we were born to be a part of. We can do the asking part, which we can't help but do that. We can be step one. Source is going to be step two. The vortex, the law of attraction, the cooperative components gathered. When you ask, it is given. Someone should write a book about that. So we're using your perspective and your words, we can be step one part of the change, where we focus, we really see the injustices, we launch strong rockets of desire because we expose ourselves to strong momentum of unwanted. And so we're part of the big rocket of desire where we not only want, but we demand something to be different. And we can be a part of the allowing part of it, the receiving mode part of it, whereas once we've asked for the change, that we stand in vibrational alignment by focusing upon what we're looking for, not what we're pushing against, so that we can be the receivers of the thought, so that we can be the receivers of the perfect timing, so that we can say the right words, so that we can stand at the right place in the right time. Because what so many young people, or not so young people, are translating this conversation to be is that we have to push hard against what we don't want. And of course, step one matters in the equation. But if you stay only in step one, then you deprive yourself of the connection, of the clarity, of the receiving, of the getting to stand as witness of the improvement. And that's why so much goes so slowly. The protests last too long, and people hold themselves in defiance of their own desires. But you must teach to the clarity of your example. And the thing that happens to so many people that want to lead movements is that they have discovered that the majority of the population of the planet, the majority of those people are in step one, pushing hard against step one. And so in order to get their attention, you have to do that too. And then you defeat your own platform, because you can't be in step one and step three at the same time. Step one is the asking mode. Step three is the listening mode, the receiving mode. So our encouragement is that you dart in and out, get in step one, get yourself stirred up, identify your cause, not your problem, your cause, your claim to improvement, what you prefer, and then focus on that and just pay attention. Find satisfying thoughts. We are never encouragers of avoiding step one. We just don't want you to make a life career out of step one. And most people, once they get in step one, that's where they want to stay. And the reason is this. We understand the reason. They have a valid reason. It just doesn't serve them very well. Is that the unwanted thing that happened, that step one moment, caused them to want a better world, to want a safer world, to want a happier world, a world that right now they don't believe is possible because they're all twirled up in what they're watching on television or the reality of what just happened. And so it feels to them that in order to justify all this new goodness that they're asking for, that they have to push really, really hard against the badness. But how it works is you teach by the clarity of your example. Some years ago, a family came to these gatherings when the gatherings were much smaller, in very early days that Esther was allowing people to know she had this weird gift. And two people married, husband and wife, both physicians, and they had a small airplane that they flew frequently to do humanitarian work in communities not too far from where they lived. And they had a young daughter, and they were flying back to their home in the desert and misunderstood which way the wind was blowing and approached the landing from the wrong direction, and their plane flipped over and caught fire. And no one was hurt. They got out of the plane, but the young girl was shaken by it. And what her statement to her mother was, we've been listening to Abraham and we believe we create our own reality. And how did we do this? Now she felt vulnerable and afraid, and her mother wanted to know what she might say. And we said, hardly anybody survives a plane crash, but you did. You came in from totally the wrong direction, flipped over, caught on fire, and all got out. We'd say, something's going well for you, wouldn't you? And so the important thing is to do whatever you can do to help your daughter maintain her connection with her source. Because when she's in connection with her source, she'll feel good. She'll feel safe. She will attract things that are. And the worst thing you can do is fan the flames of what makes her feel vulnerable. And so we get it. People don't want to hear that. They want you to face reality, and they want to take all kinds of action. But you're leading us to the most important thing that we will talk about here together today. You're really going to like it, how it ties together, and the tool that it will give you for clarity along the way and success in whatever it is you're teaching or living yourself. So in every moment that you are awake in your physical body, you are in the receiving mode of something, because you can't turn your tuner off. It's on, which means you are emitting a vibrational signal, which means you are receiving a vibrational signal, because whatever station you're on is what's coming back to you. The question that you might want to ask yourself as you're moving through the day, it ties in with this satisfied or not satisfied, is what receiving mode am I in? Am I in the receiving mode of Source, who knows the whole picture of me? Or am I in the receiving mode of CNN, who has a different agenda today? What receiving mode am I in? Because depending upon what receiving mode you're in, either will gain momentum. In time, there will be enough momentum that you'll want to take action. But you just want to make sure that you're in the receiving mode. Esther has just sent off to the printer a proof for a new dash card. It's a card you can put on the dash of your car. It was either that or a bumper sticker, and she didn't think it was a good idea for you to run around with a bumper sticker that said under the influence. When you look at it, you can't tell what it says because it's all backwards and funny. But when it's on your dash, it reflects onto your windshield. So low on your windshield, it's a nice reminder. Under the influence. What influence am I under? Am I under the influence of my inner being, which means am I in the receiving mode? Or am I under the influence of fearful, worrisome things? So step one, of course, be awake in this world, be alive in this world, and let what comes to you in this world serve you in the way you intended. Let knowing what you don't want help you to know what you do want. For example, when you're listening, when you're under the influence of Source, the eventual ideas that will flow to you will be ideas such as offering love as often as you can, and noticing in advance those who are feeling like fish out of water, and maybe doing something to soothe them before they feel so disenfranchised and misunderstood that they are actually in a place that as they're trying to move up the emotional scale, they move into revenge. You see what we're getting at? You might be one who rendezvous with someone who is on their way to that kind of an act, but instead they meet you bright and shiny and in love with life and not judging them the way others do, and seeing them through the eyes of Source and maybe saying the perfect thing at the perfect time. In other words, when you're under the influence of Source, you are part of the solution. When you're under the influence of something other than that, you're part of the problem. So you might just want to remind her that there's step one and there's step three, and which part does she want to predominantly be a part of. And of course, you're going to be part of step one. You can't see that without having that knee-jerk reaction and wanting things to be different. But you sure can give your attention to what you want to be different. If you're under the influence of what so many people are, you want to blame them. There's no place for understanding within you about how they even got there. And therefore, there's no moving forward in helping fewer people get there. Law of attraction says you get what you think about, whether you want it or not, and whatever you're thinking about is becoming more and more and more and more and more. Do you want to be part of the problem, or do you want to be part of the solution? You know, we talk about this stuff so much, and audiences hear and have their individual responses to what they hear here. And we know that as we speak universal truths, as we speak of the laws of the universe as we know them to be, that to those who are hearing it, it could just be another set of words that are just another set of words. We know we can talk to you about your source. We can talk to you about connection. We can talk to you about alignment. We can talk to you about empowerment. We can talk to you about the receptive mode. But until you've actually lived some life and know you want something, and then actually deliberately quieted your mind and stopped the negative chatter and allowed your vibration to rise, and you know you did because of the way you feel in your body, and then received an impulse or a thought that felt satisfying, felt delicious to you, and so you followed it because we had this discussion. And then you witnessed the result of that. And then you know, because words don't teach. So you have to live it yourself. You have to be joyful in this world that could be scary. You have to feel secure in a world that could feel tentative. You have to demonstrate your own connection before you even have an opportunity at all to awaken it. This movement that is afoot, we applaud it because we think it's wonderful that they are saying we want something different than we've got. But to act like adults that are just now pushing against this isn't going to get them to where they want to be. They want to live in a safe world, but you know where that safe world is? It's the satisfaction that you feel between wanting a safe world and having thoughts about one. That's where it is. And practicing that until your momentum is so strong that the universe cannot yield to you anything other than that. When you stood before Jesus, dripping your illness, he saw not your illness, he knew your wellness, and he knew it so unequivocally that while you were in his gaze, your illness could not abide in his vibration. And then he said, don't go home and talk about that. He said, go forth and tell no one. Because he knew if you went home and talked about it, that you would not be able to maintain that knowing of your well-being. We know. And so just be easy about this. Don't go out and try to repeat what you heard. You won't remember most of it anyway. Just reach for as much satisfaction in thought as you can find and take it really, 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 really easy. Your vortex is so full of wonderful things, and you have guidance within you that is so extra active right now because you've been in the receiving mode off and on, but mostly on, and you're in a different vibrational place, which means your point of attraction has shifted, and your relationship with everyone on the planet is different now than it was before. So your ability to recognize that receiving mode or not, there'll be more keen awareness within you. These are really good times. These are really good times. There's more contrast, which means there's more expansion. And now with this knowledge, there will be more keeping up with your expansion, which means there'll be more joy, which is what it's all about, yes? There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain joyously and stubbornly in your vortex. Yeah.